Okay, welcome to Into the Channel podcast, primarily about women's football. I am your host, Dino De Cespedes, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Mr. Grant Engel. What's up, man?
I'm feeling fantastic, buddy. That was a pretty awesome week of NWSL football, and now we just got to power through 40 minutes of sleepy boy podcasting to talk about it all. I'm excited to do it.
You know, I'll tell you what. I know you're not a coffee guy, but boy might have snuck in a little 3:45 p.m. Pacific coffee.
Nice.
You know, the body's starting to get onto this West Coast swing. So I think I don't know. I feel like my energy is going to be pretty decent. Good weekend of football. We are not going to forget to crack the beers to open this episode. So I don't know. I say we just do that now.
Speaking of energy drinks like coffee, I have something delicious right here.
Really?
I mean, it's still a beer, but it's just like it. I mean, I'll feel great as I'm drinking it, talking about football with you, my good man.
I felt like a plug coming on. I was like, all right, here we go. We're about to learn some here about these hops.
First sponsorship. Nope, just a regular old, delicious Seattle-based beer.
Ah, glorious. Well, cheers to you. Cheers to those delicious Seattle-based beers. Cheers to all the football. Oh, my goodness. Does anybody know anything about this? Outside of Casey, let's move Casey off to the side. Does anybody know anything? That's my first question.
No, I don't think so. And I'm glad that our show doesn't pretend to know, because these results are just swinging wildly. We've got some predictions right. We've got some predictions not as right, but that's the joy. That's the joy of the league.
All right, let's get to it. Well, actually, where do I get started, Mr. Greeningle?
You know I love a chronological order, and let's talk. I mean, there are a lot of things. You mentioned that Kansas City Current, that juggernaut in the middle of the map in the United States. Mm-hmm. Orlando Pride, unfortunately, 0. Kansas City Current 1. I got to tell you, did not enjoy.
A rough watch. I mean, a lot of skill on the field for sure, but just watching that Orlando offense. I mean, I think shout out to Mike Watt, who had a great stat nugget. Orlando conceding first in the 5th straight match. That seems impossible to even wrap my head around, considering how dominant this team was defensively last season. Coming into the year, I'm like, well, is this team going to give up 5 goals at all? first one in 5 straight matches. I think the winger issue is just so devastating. I mean, too often you're watching this match and like Banda's running up the pitch and nobody running with her. And then now it's like a trailing Angelina, a trailing Marta. And, not to knock on those players, but that's not their game. Their game. You don't expect those players to be running up the field. Haley McCutcheon was kind of spent a lot of time in the 10 spot. Ali Watt came on later. You don't expect these players to be like up doing the Banda type things, but that's necessary, especially when you look on the other side. You see KC, and it's some combination of Debinha, Bia, Temo Chawinga, Labonta, sneaks up. Di Bernardo's, in the mix. Claire Hutton, she's like covering a ton of the pitch, and it's like night and day watching these two offenses.
Yeah, totally right. I mean, I think we just have to point out, like, obviously, you knew right away in the offseason the departure of Adriana was going to be a factor. Even if I don't even think she necessarily got a ton of minutes last year, but she just helps with those kind of things. But then you have to point out, Julie Doyle was 10th on the team in minutes last year. Summer Yates was 11th on the team in minutes last year. Doyle's made 1 appearance and has played 11 minutes. Still got a goal in those 11 minutes, but you need Julie Doyle for more than 11 minutes when you're 9 games through the season. Summer Yates has made 4 appearances, and she's played 107 minutes of the 810 available minutes so far. So when you talk about the lack of wingers, and when we talked about so much about Orlando Pride's depth last year, you take those 2 out of the mix, those are 2 really valuable players for them.
Absolutely. And I think, we mentioned Adriana when we first got the news. I had no idea it was going to be to this degree. I think another part of it too is like Orlando's counting on apparently like Marta playing like every minute of this season.
Yeah, man.
It's like, I mean, at some point, this is the GOAT we're talking about, but I just see too often You know, and I want to call it like Kayla Sharples on the KC Current, you know, defense. I thought she did a great job, kind of like overplaying, you know, like or like being a little overprotective, trying to protect against Banda. And I
Yeah.
think Cook as a backstop was like really helpful there. Lorena, you know, like that was like a pretty formidable setup. Outside of that, I think defensively, Kansas City not super impressive, not super organized, but extremely committed. I think whenever there was an attack, they just had bodies in the mix. They weren't really organized. You couldn't really tell how they were set up necessarily, but the bodies were there. Shout out to Lori Lindsay who called it out like roughly like early in the second half, midway through the second half. But you could just
Yeah.
see it. Like they just were not going to get beat by the typical Orlando attack.
Yeah, I mean, and their defense has been good all year. We were talking about it a couple weeks ago where they, that's how they've been really ratcheting up that goal differential for them. I think they're like
Mm.
plus 13 at this point, miles ahead of the next in the league. I think maybe 6 ahead of the next team. Yeah, the defense has been good. This was a good Claire Hutton game. She's strung together 2 in a row now after she had a little bit of a rough showing against Seattle Reign FC. But the credit to Kansas City, a deserved win, a big win, in Orlando. The injuries are starting to concern me a little bit. Seems like they're starting to pile up. You mentioned Alana Cook as a backstop. She had to leave the match early.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Looking a little rough out there.
It is, but I mean, I think I continue to be fascinated by what Casey is doing defensively because it's almost as if they lost to Orlando last year and we're like, let's do that same playbook. Like they've got Band up there. We've got Chewinga plus. Like we feel like our attacking players might be, I'm sure they feel like they've got the better attacking unit amongst
Sure.
the two squads. But I'm sure they looked at that Orlando side, looked at the defense, how they played, how they sold out. I mean, even watching Emily Sams in this game go heads up 1v1 versus Temo Chewinga, that was a fierce battle. There was crazy battles all over the pitch. Chewinga versus Morehouse was another good one. Hutton versus Marta, they got into it. I think there was a lot up and down the pitch. But when you look at KC, they're just playing like a hungrier brand of football. And I think I love to look at like the rough housing stats. You look at the tackles, 25-9 for the KC Current. Fouls committed 11-6 for the KC Current. I think Morehouse was good, but ultimately, KC. I mean, it's weird, but they were tougher. They just were tougher. They played harder. They kind of sold out all over the field. It's almost like they were, and I think Orlando. I don't want to say they picked their spots, but it just wasn't the right personnel setup to beat this Current side, even at home.
Yeah, I can see that. It's just I need more of Banda on the ball. We talked about she's going to need to get some service from the wings, but I don't know. We're going to have to see how much of her game she can go back and get the ball to kind of try to create some problems. She's going to have to do something to get her on the ball more. And I also do wonder, like, without that Kylie Nadanner miscue, which, you don't see that a lot from her. It's a tough spot for her to kind of figure out where to play the ball. And then she's got Chewinga bearing down on her. I don't know. This probably could have been a 0-0 draw, but I think it's a fair result. Kansas City was just better on that night.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I mean, it's a misstep from Nadanner for sure, but not the most embarrassing missteps you've seen. And then when you realize she's got Bia over one shoulder, Chewinga over the other shoulder, and it's like if that ball goes anywhere except straight to Anna Morehouse, it's an issue. And then it ended up being an issue. Last quick note on the match. A lot of people might think that 52nd minute Temo Chewinga goal was the moment of the match. But I mean, to me, I've got to fast forward roughly 16 minutes, right around the 68th minute. Our guy, Mike Watts, quote, ball into the channel on the other end, end quote.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, he's got to reference the existence of the podcast. We're going to get our guy to do it. But, at least, he's using the term. I like that.
I want to rewind back to fill some of the audience in.
Are you letting me out of the channel? Is that how this works?
Nicely done. I know you've dropped it. Obviously, I'm just going to be totally shameless. Dino, you can cringe as necessary.
Oh,
I
boy.
mean, if a pass goes into the channel during the season, and we know many will, you know what? My feelings won't be hurt, whatever you decide. But I just want to say, when a pass goes into the channel in the NWSL this year, maybe once or twice, if you want to mention this show, it wouldn't exactly be bad for us.
Twice? Now we're talking about twice? Grant's over
you
here
know,
asking for multiple plugs. This isn't payola. I mean,
shameless.
All right. Tremendous use of the word payola. How about that?
Yeah, great pull by him. I mean, we can count that as like a halftime. I know he said it before in other matches. I got to just give him the nudge to be like, remember, you got to talk about the podcast, buddy. I think I'm sure he has nothing else going on, and he'll have plenty of time to read my stupid emails being like, hey, can you plug our podcast, please, on your national broadcast?
I'm sure he's very anxiously awaiting our notes on his performance. Either way, big match, big moment. So I appreciate our guy, Mike Watts, obviously, for, half credit and for calling a great match for sure.
It was a good call by him. There was a thing like in the opener where the camera flashed to Benda, Marta, Dabinia, and Chewinga, and he had like a quick like one-liner on all four of them. I thought that was really well executed by him. The goal call was good, and then he had to navigate like some tricky waters, like with Alana Cook's injury. It was like a non-contact injury. Obviously Watts is our guy, but it was a good call by him, I thought, through and through.
Hell yeah. Yep. Disappointing result for the Pride fan in me, but we'll keep it moving. Long season. We'll see what happens. I want to shift gears though. Gotham FC 0, San Diego Wave 1.
Wow.
Big result. I mean, where do you want to start with this one?
I think it is about time to start taking San Diego quite seriously. That Ascanio finish, I guess let's start there.
Oof. I mean,
audacious,
like that's some like Olympics gym floor routine finish where you're just like, I've been working on this for 4 years and this is my moment right here. And I'm just going to, I mean, so smooth, so cool. I can't believe this player is 17 years old. And like at the moment in the match, the 30-minute mark, I thought it was so crucial because Gotham bullied the Wave through the first 15, 20 minutes of the match. Like they were really physical. They were really, like I have two lines in my notes that I want to hit. The first one, Gotham looks like they can and will overwhelm you. And then 3 notes later, and San Diego have just wrestled away control of everything about this match. It was really wild because Gotham was like pressing. They were everywhere. They were getting, they were aggressive offensively. They just were selling out. And I was watching, I'm like, either Gotham's like really, really, really good and really hungry, or they're going to run out of gas here. And I think not that they ran out of gas, but San Diego burned all the gas that they had. I mean, the way they're able to move the ball, just move the chess pieces on the board. It's really on a different level this season.
Yeah. I mean, going back and like looking at the stats, like after watching the match and in the first half, possession ends up 61-39 in favor of the Wave. And like you said, like the first like 15, 20 minutes, I didn't think it was going to end up that way. But like, obviously if you take control, for the remaining 25 plus of the half, that's exactly what San Diego did. And yeah, I think they just wore them down. And now Gotham had a look at an equalizer. I think it was like around like 53, I want to say, shortly after halftime, where Jalen Howell played like a fucking super one-time pass over the top to Midge Purse. And you feel like Purse probably could have done better to have the equalizer there. But, they were just on their heels, and San Diego, again, I'll hand up on this one. I didn't expect this, and I keep kind of expecting the turn to happen, and they keep proving me wrong.
I'm at the point in the season where I'm not really expecting the turn anymore. I think this is a good team. I think this is a team that if you draw this team in the playoffs, as currently constructed, that's a real point of worry for me. You look at Kimi Escanio. This is a 17-year-old player. She completes 90% of her passes, short and medium, on the day. Just like wild. No, I'm sorry, 90% of her passes, and then her short passes, 22 of 23, 10 of 11 on medium passes. So she barely missed today. And on that goal, I mean, I noticed something that I don't think anybody saw coming into the season. So as Ascanio comes up to the ball, strikes it, hits the back of the net, I look down at one of my fists and it's clenched. And then I look down at another fist and it's also clenched. And then there was an immediate pump when Ascanio scored, and then I had to go back to my notes and get back to the objective nature. But we might be approaching my San Diego way.
Oh, buddy, it feels like we're at the station already.
We're here.
I mean, you've been on this early, which I gotta tell you, is worth going back to, because I was a little bummed that we didn't get to it in the Orlando Pride Kansas City Current portion. So let me just try to get to this real quickly. I know we got to move the show along, but shout out to our pal Ad Astra on Blue Sky, who I thought asked you a hilarious question that was simultaneously a nice jab in the rib cage. When Astra asked you, which match are you prioritizing on Friday night? After last year being all in on the Pride, I feel like Ad Astra thinks you might be switching sides, and I can't say they're totally wrong.
No, definitely not switching sides. For all intent, just for posterity's sake, I did watch Pride Current first. Went back and watched Gotham, San Diego on the replay. But we do what we can. Another quick shout out, Pro Moroni, amazing. Gets the assist on the Escanio goal, 61 out of 69 of the passes, led the team in total carrying distance and progressive carrying distance, each by a mile. Moroni covered a ton of ground, connected on everything. And then you mentioned Jalen Howell. You look at FOTMob's top 9 players in terms of player ratings. Jalen Howell is the only Gotham player of the top 9.
Oh, wow.
The rest are all San Diego Wave players. I mentioned that stat about their medium range passes, their short and medium range passes being in the high. Well, short is in the high in the 90s. Medium, I think, is in the high 80s. Well beyond. It's this match. They were right on that exact same number. I think right around 86%. And these are 15 to 30 yard passes. And then you combine that with the positioning and the movement. They've got like the French connection. You've got like Moroni, Dali, Cascarino. Cascarino was great getting into the final third, whether it was passing or her runs. This team is just dangerous. And I think we haven't really even seen this team like fully fleshed out yet, in my opinion. I think when you look at the new players, you look at the young players, you look at a new manager, I think we're still going to see some evolution from this Wave side.
I think that's a fair point. I guess we just got to see, because like Adewale's had success, and so I guess we can't. I'm not even gonna say we. I guess I can't let the way things ended at Arsenal totally color how I view this guy for the rest of his career. So I think like I said, the evidence is mounting against my San Diego Wave FC skepticism before the season. It's getting harder and harder to hold on to. Yeah,
no, I definitely get it. Well, there's room out here. You can ride the wave with us.
Nicely done.
Want to switch gears? Houston won. Portland Thorns FC. This one must have hurt, man. Portland Thorns FC 4. A massive win. Now Portland, where are they sitting? 4th in the table. Goodness gracious. Mm-hmm. Game in hand, or no, actually they're a game ahead, but they're 5 points behind. This is a team well trending towards the playoffs. Big time performance here at Houston, battling the elements, battling the heat. I don't know. I think that the thing that I'm going to take away is this Portland side sells out offensively, and defensively they're a bit of a wrecking ball. Like they just kind of want to knock around and get a chance and turn that chance into a ball heading towards the goal.
Yeah. That's a great way to. I mean, that's kind of like the ethos of how Sam Coffey plays football in the
Mm,
NWSL. Jesse Fleming can do a lot of the same stuff. I was just kind of, I was really impressed with the level of skill on each of their goals that happened in the run of play. Torden's goal, Linehan, and Kaya Hanks, who
jeez.
looks like a real impressive rookie so far. Like every time I see her play, there are like a couple things where I'm like, yeah, that's probably a real good left winger that, Portland just scoops right up, fits into the system, and figures out how to win games.
Yep. Yeah. And in addition to those young players, how about a veteran, Mimi Alidou from Benfica,
Let's
to
go.
just sort of like connect some of the things that are happening for Portland offensively. Alidou gets the assist on that first goal, Pietro Torden's goal in the 26th minute, the 21-year-old. What a move to kind of pop the ball up in the air and just like total and one vibes where the defender's like looking, he's like, wait, where is the ball exactly? Looping
Yeah.
around. And then Torden adds another, inside juke before going, out to the left and just creating a ton of space to knock it home. Kaya Hanks, I thought Kaya Hanks and Reyna Reyes on the left were dynamite. Like that
Yeah.
is a real scary, scary pairing. Those two kind of, just doing what they do on offense. Reyes gets the assist on Kaya Hanks' goal. And then, at the end of the day, huge win for the Thorns. And they haven't lost since April 18th to when they felt the wrath of your Seattle Reign.
Yeah, man. I mean, we're going to have to see. Is it going to look like last year where they had like these big swings forward and then there's a few steps back? Something feels a little different about this team. You don't know, like, does the absence of Sophie Wilson like rear its ugly head like later in the season where it's just like we just need somebody to get some goals here? It looks like they're developing those players, but like you mentioned, so like what Torden is 21, Hanks is 20. So you're gonna need some consistency over the course of the season from those players. So again, not to be a downer here. I'm keeping an eye on it. We'll see how things look in those dog days of July.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we'll track, but we came into the season wondering where the goals were going to come from. Portland right now sitting on
Finding them.
16 goals, just
Yeah.
3 behind KC, good for second in the league, tied with the Spirit and the Wave on 16, one ahead of the Orlando Pride on 15. So this team's finding a way. We'll keep an eye on them for sure. Another team locked into one of those, not locked in, but probably sitting pretty comfortably in a playoff spot. Speaking of
Can I
your
do
reign, though, yeah.
just real quick? I said those dog days of July, and as soon as I said it, I mean the Euros are going to be happening. There's going to be an international break. The dog days of August. The NWSL is not playing matches in the month of July. Yeah, live fact check on the show. We're about accountability. Sorry about that.
I like it. Good cleanup. We'll be busy in July. We'll probably be busy in August too. So, the calendar never stops for us.
Mm-hmm.
Your Seattle Reign, another big dub. Seattle Reign won on the road. They go to Louisville, earn the clean sheet, 1-0 Seattle. Big win, big 3 points. I'm going to clear out here. What do we see in this one?
I mean, Sam Meza to Maddie Darlene. I think Seattle Reign FC supporters should hope that's the future of the club. Meza has been great this season, just consistently very good every time you watch her play. I think she had a bit of a rough go against Angel City, but she has been a dogged defender and is now getting the ball forward and helping connect the attack. The finish by Darlene off the amazing Meza pass, one of those balls that is just weighted so perfectly that dies right into Darlene's path. And then Darlene has the wherewithal to tuck it away. She had another chance before that Meza mentioned in the post game press conference. That Meza kind of was a little hard on herself. It was like I just didn't get the ball where it needed to go. But those two have chemistry from their time playing at North Carolina together. Maybe the best thing the University of North Carolina has had going for it the past few years. Running into some stormy waters right now in some other ways. It's a different podcast perhaps, but I digress. The second half of this match, pretty ugly. in long spots. I felt like Taylor Flint could have had the equalizer, but Seattle Reign finds a way to hold on defensively. Tell me if you've heard that before.
Definitely heard it before. The Reign kind of remind me a little bit of last year's Courage side, the way that they're kind of trying to play without the possession. Wild stat lines in this one. Racing Louisville dominates the possession 62-38, shots 20-4 in favor of Racing Louisville.
Yeah.
The anomaly, though, just one shot on target from 20 seems impossible, but that's kind of what happened. Seattle wins, completing just 59% of their passes. The XG was pretty much in the same ballpark. It ended 1.0 to 0.9 to Racing Louisville. And then you mentioned Taylor Flint. Wild stat line for Flint. She leads Racing Louisville with 4 shots, 3 tackles, 6 interceptions, and 6 shot creating actions. Leads the team in all 4 categories. She seemed to be everywhere. And yeah, that Mesa pass, I definitely had that one on repeat. I love the pass that continues to get the player more and more open the longer the ball rolls. It's something so pleasing aesthetically about a ball like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Great pass. And you mentioned how skewed the stats are in favor of Racing. Racing Louisville also had 12 corners to Seattle Reign having 1 in the match. I mean, but it's even then, it just never felt like any of Louisville's chances were really dangerous. Claudia Dickey had a great catch on one of those 12 corners where she goes up and high points it like Randy Moss, like 2 hands, like catch like over her head. She continues to be on a good run of form. I want to say, I mean, on the Louisville side, I got 2 more quick things. On the Louisville side, I thought there were some good passing sequences. Sears, DeMello, Sonis, Millet. They were able to put some stuff together, but again, they never really got into any super dangerous situations, and that's how you lose 1-0 at home.
Racing Louisville continues to just be probably the most confounding team in the league. I think by a pretty good margin, you really, really never know what to expect from that side. Even within a game, they win the XG battle, they lose every match. That happens. When they win, they lose the XG battle, vice versa. 20 shots outshoot Seattle 20-4, and can't find a way to win at home. So yeah, I think back to the drawing board type situation for Racing. Seattle continues to trend upward. And now they're even higher than where I had them preseason in 7th. They reach up, climb up to 6th. So I think they got. I mean, what are the vibes in Seattle? Like, is it sort of like paper champion, kind of like going into the NBA playoffs as a 7 seed type situation, or does it feel like foundationally things are maybe starting to percolate?
Yeah, I think the ascension. Like everybody knew Jordan Bugg was going to be good in her 2nd season. Like that was pretty much a done deal. Her pedigree speaks for itself. I know Susie Rance of the great Sounder at Heart, who's been a guest on this show. Shout out to Susie. She asked Laura Harvey about the match in the post-game press conference after the win over Louisville. And Laura Harvey still is kind of to your paper champions point. Paper champions is probably rough, but I know what you mean there. Like, here's what Harvey said, and tell me if you can, if I'm just like making up the relation here. She said, quote, "When we compete the way we did and show a little bit of quality, not only will we win these games, but they'll be more comfortable than they were today." End quote. And really how Harvey started that answer to Susie was some games I feel like I'm paraphrasing her here, but she said some games you see that competitiveness and that like real like toughness out there. And then other games, their quality is better, but they might not be as tough on the ball. And she's basically saying you got to put those 2 things, you got to start putting together more complete games, to use a sports cliche. And so I think there is a little bit of that because you need both of those to win in the playoffs. And if you have one game where you have one and not the other, you might get knocked out.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, 4-2-3 on the season. Got to be at least on the upper end of where the expectations were coming to the year.
Oh, yeah.
And, you love to win games that are on the schedule look, at least questionable or a little tricky. Obviously the time change and all the stuff involved in this one, and you just never know with Louisville. But I mean, you have to credit Seattle, and whether we'll see how much of it is build uponable. But either way, all they can do is kind of come out and get results, and I think that's what they've done for the better part of this season. So definitely props to them. Another thing that we're going to continue to track. Let's scoot ahead, though. North Carolina Courage 2, Chicago Stars 0. I think this is maybe the most predictable, most normal result of the weekend. I think this is one of the only score line where it was just like, okay, this makes a ton of sense here.
Yeah, you're totally right. I mean, these are just two clubs on totally different trajectories right now. It feels like, Manaka Matsukubo scores the 2 goals. It's a great performance from Murphy in goal. Had to make a couple great saves against Ludmilla that looked like they could have been the equalizer at some point. But the Courage just looked, frankly, better than Chicago in a lot of places on the field. I was surprised, and Leanne Sanderson brought it up later in the broadcast, but Chicago looked an awful lot better when they brought Jamise Joseph on the field. I think she should probably just be on the field more, but maybe, like we always say, the managers have more information than us. Maybe she had a knock and she needed to have limited minutes. I'm not totally sure, but I'll restate it. The team looked way more dangerous with Joseph on the field, and they gotta try to figure something out in Chicago, or they might be looking at dead last in the table this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think even if they do figure something out, they still might be looking at dead last. They're kind of way down there. Ludmilla, 3 shots, 3 on target. So one bright spot on the day for Chicago. And you got to imagine, Joseph, not in the starting lineup. Joseph's been really good this season. No good real reason not to keep her out, barring injury. But you have to imagine coaching change. This has to be a lost season for Chicago. They cannot be looking at their record 1-1-7 being like, all right, how do we climb back into this thing? They're just so far behind, and they don't have the firepower. This is not a team that has had a string of unfortunate results. Like, this team just doesn't, every week they're up against it with regard to kind of like lining up and running out there. So I think if you're Chicago, you're probably trying to figure out what you have, and that could be, just moving some pieces around, doing some experimentation. Maybe they feel good about Joseph. So that's kind of maybe like a locked in situation. But yeah, I have to imagine they're probably, I don't know, it's weird to say it was so early. We're still in May, but they might already have an eye toward next season.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame them if they do. And, at least things will get easier next week. Let me just double check. Oh, they're playing the Kansas City Current. That's not great. You don't want that. So, yeah, I mean, this would be, if memory serves, and please, our pals can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I believe in 2023, I think they finished DFL, dead last on the table. Then they get Mal Swanson back. Mal Swanson helps lead them to the playoffs. Obviously, they have the unfortunate Sam Staub injury to kind of derail the season. And now it looks like they're trending towards another dead last in the table. That'd be dead last 2 out of 3 years. Gotta start looking at some other options. Obviously, losing Swanson is gigantic. I can't understate that, but you gotta get something else going out there. You can't be a 1-person team. It's not a recipe for success.
Well, I mean, when you're thinking about data and running experiments, a lot of times you want to be able to run experiments where other things are constant. And I think it's really interesting that when you think about Triple Espresso, all 3 of those players have been sidelined. Washington Spirit and Rodman, Sophia Wilson and Portland, and Swanson and Chicago. Chicago's the only one that has completely imploded without their shot of Triple Espresso. So you cannot, obviously a tremendous player, this is a, upper echelon player in Swanson, but to me, it's not really an excuse. Things are just at a point where, you've given up 19 goals this year. You've scored 5 times. in 9 matches. That's not Swansea's fault. So I mean, we'll see. I mean, I think if you're North Carolina, though, it's weird. They're 3-3-3 on the season, still outside the playoff mix, even though it feels like they've won 3 out of the last 4. So I mean, it's probably just the abysmal start. But it feels like things are coming together for North Carolina. They've had 8 different goal scorers this season.
Yep.
And like I said, they're coming on. I think, with Nejas sort of abandoning the style from last year and just trying to like play towards the strengths of from a personnel standpoint, I think has really, really helped this team. I'm not sure they're going to finish as high as I had them. I think I had them 4th coming into the season. They're definitely not going to get there. But I think a team heading in the right direction.
Yeah, I wouldn't be so sure to say they're definitely not going to get there. I mean, they're 4 points back of Portland and the Spirit, and I mean they have the same goal differential as the Spirit. Now they're 4 behind the Thorns on goal differential. They got a lot of good players, man. They got smart players all over the field. They play a good style. Ryan Williams as a wingback has been absolutely destroying this year. Last 4 matches, they have the last-minute victory over Kansas City Current at home, where they had to get the 2 goals like at the death. Then they have a 2-0 victory away at Utah. Then they have the home draw versus your Orlando Pride. Well, really trending toward my Orlando Pride. We'll talk about that later. But that draw was only because of that wild Chilufya header at the death. And then they get this home win versus Chicago. I think things are looking up, and there's a lot of talent over there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, next week, the Courage doesn't get any easier. They draw my San Diego Wave Sunday, May 25th, 7 p.m.
There it is.
I'm so glad that worked out that way. Yeah, I moved to the wrong city here on the kid California. No, I'm just kidding. All right, let's go ahead. Match of the weekend: Washington 3, Utah Royals 3. This one went a little haywire. I gotta admit, I think this one went down the same time, or maybe prior to the BFC batch, but I wasn't able to catch this one live. Had to go straight highlights in this one. Wasn't able to catch the replay either. NWSL.com, NWSL Plus, general internets, general TV sports streaming. Let's get to a point where this match is available to a person like me in full, even with some commercials. I could live with those. I mean, what are we doing here? So I'm going to need to lean on you here for a little bit, buddy. Washington Spirit 3, Utah Royals 3. What do I need to know about this one?
Bonkers game. Thought it was the match of the week. That was real hoops out there. Not defensively though. Both of those defensive units, oh boy, not great right now. It's way too easy to beat the Spirit's back line with long passes.
Oh my
God,
yeah.
Like in the past few weeks, they're just getting smoked on those. And then for the Utah Royals, if you attack them down the wings, there's a pretty good chance that somebody is going to be open in the middle of the field. And I got to tell you, most teams who play organized, coached football will attack you down the wings and try to play the ball in the middle. It is a weird quirk of the Utah defense that they're not good at defending that.
Pretty wild. I mean, I caught up with this one via highlights and stats, and I think a couple that stuck out to me. The XG battle, 4.0 for the Spirit, 0.6.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's wild. Nice. Shots, 28 for the Spirit, 9 for Utah. Everything else I think was pretty straightforward. I mean, all the scoring in the first half. Watching Rosamund Kawasi in the bits that I did see, probably knocking on the door of definitely my favorite Spirit player of the season, maybe in the mix for my favorite player overall of the season. I think her energy, or like her hitting 5th gear, which she just loves to do, it really is something to watch when she's like, I'm going to go here and I'm going to do something. I don't know, as exciting, I think, as we have in this league.
Yeah, absolutely. And that pressure that she puts on the defense just gives all of the other great playmakers on that Spirit side some opportunity to get a rebound or to get open and to cause more havoc. I can't believe I've gone this long without just saying it. The 2 most important words this season for me as a premier stockholder of this player: Bethune back. She played 77 minutes, looked good out there, was moving well out there, I think, for the first time really this season. And the fact that she's able to give you almost 80 minutes in that effort and had some really good moments as well, that is encouraging for the Spirit side.
That's definitely exciting. I mean, it looked like for from the lineup situation, it looked like was she playing more upfield, or where was she doing most damage?
Yeah, she was heavily involved in the attack. Hopefully Sleepy Boy's memory is right on this. But yeah, she was in the final third, making passes, taking some shots. I think she had at least one or two blocked. There was one that was like a way errant, like way over the bar. But when she stepped up and took it with confidence, I was like, okay, as the season goes on, that's going to a few of those are going to be on frame, and a few of them are going to go in the net. So I was encouraged by her performance. On the Utah side, I do want to say, even giving up 3 goals, I thought it was a gigantic McGlynn performance. She had a couple. This could have been uglier for Utah if she wasn't there. She gets the penalty save. She had a diving save on a Bernal header. She had a kick save when Kawasi had her 1-on-1. She did everything she could. She was just left too vulnerable in a few spots.
Yeah, I can imagine. McGlynn 7 saves, allows the 3 goals, but she faced 28 shots. 13 different Spirit players attempted a shot. 8 different Spirit players had a shot on target. I mean, imagine, it's not just the volume of shots; it's the different styles, different strikes, different points on the pitch. That different subs players coming in and out. 13 different players attempting a shot. It's hard to. That's a SAT question right there. Watching McGlynn kind of like step up in this one and be able to hold on to the point. It's got to be a little bit of a bummer, to be Utah and take that lead so deep into this match. But obviously, you're on the road. You're going to Washington. I think something definitely to build on for sure. And then Casey Kruger with the late winner. It definitely made, and obviously she's back as well. I think I'm not sure if this was her first action, but she definitely has not logged a ton of minutes this season.
Right.
It just kind of reminded me. I mean, the finish was awesome. I want to talk about that in a second.
Great.
But I got a chance to talk to her after the Challenge Cup, and she was so cool and so like regal, and like you kind of like associate that with her game a little bit. Like it's never rushed. She's never like stumbling over herself. She's always just in control, great balance, like great, control of her faculties for sure every second that she's on the pitch. But then that finish, like the violence of the head snap, and just like, okay, I got this. This has to go in. Let me turn back the clock a little bit. Let me dig deep back into the archives and really finish with some ferocity here. That was a great finish from Kruger.
Yeah, unbelievably smart to get where she needed to be in the box. It was a great cross by Tara Mikione, who who streaks down, gets to the end line, and feeds it in there. Casey Kruger had some funny comments, like in the post match interview with the studio team, I think it was on Ion, and was just like, yeah, I needed to get into that part of the box. I knew I needed to get there, and Mikione put the cross on her, but she still had a lot of work to do with that cross. How many times do you see that cross go, like you nick it too late and it goes way left and it's right wide of the goal, or you pop it up, or you hit it right at the keeper? McGlynn, right. As good of a game as McGlynn had, she had no shot at saving that. It's because of the execution of Kruger.
100%, perfectly put. Very cool moment. And Spirit, a much needed result at home. They had been definitely reeling. That I think is their first non-loss at home of the season, if I'm not mistaken. One more match to hit. This one was a fun one. Boy was in the building for this one. First time at PayPal Park, Bay FC 2.
Nice.
Angel City FC 0. I was excited for this one. Obviously, great crowd. Let me start there. 14,000 plus in the building. And that place was rocking. I think even when goals got close, you can feel it. And then Penelope Hawking, she scores in the 23rd. That place exploded. I'm not sure if that's a normal course of affairs for PayPal Park, but I was very impressed with the environment. And
Nice.
not to get even more on Ad Astra's bad side, but Orlando. I will say Orlando, knowers of ball down there.
Yes.
They know when to cheer, when not to cheer. They know what they're looking at. There just aren't enough of you looking at what you're looking at.
Oh,
maybe
my
maybe
God.
they don't know what they're looking at. I had to explain to this to my fiance. I'm like, they've got the greatest player who ever played in Orlando. They've got one of the best players in the world playing right now in Orlando. They won everything last year. They really should be packing that stadium and figuring out how to fill that gap, because that's an incredible team, incredible pedigree, incredible accomplishment. But that Bay FC environment, pretty raucous, man. I was impressed.
Wow. Just one match in. I got to tell you, Ad Astra was right about you. Just doesn't even know. I mean, I can't wait. I'm going to start buying some Pride gear. I think I'm really in contention to be the Orlando Pride guy on this podcast. This is fantastic. Just takes just being a California elitist now. This is how it goes.
just thumbing my nose at everything. No, let's get to the football. Evenly matched, I think, between these two teams. Angel City led in a couple of key categories, but Bay FC, I think, was right there. They won the XG battle. They came out in a 4-4-1-1. Interesting setup. Taylor Huff sort of in the 10-ish kind of spot. Kundanaji way up top. Taylor Huff, great match from Huff. 22 years old. Florida State Seminole, really, really good. 7 passes into the final third, 3 chances created. She leads Bay with 3 interceptions. Also led the team with touches in the final third with 26. A Mansfield, Ohio native. How far?
Okay.
How familiar are you with Mansfield?
Not hugely familiar. I think it's not far from where I went to college at beautiful Kent State University. I want to say it's like an hour or like an hour and a half southwest of where I went to college. I think I used to see billboards of a large gun show there. So just as you could probably guess, not really my scene. But other than that, I don't have much Mansfield information. That's funny. That's a good pull, though.
Fair enough. Well, I've got some Mansfield information. Mansfield, Ohio. A location for several big budget Hollywood movies, including The Shawshank Redemption, Air Force One, and Tango and Cash. The reason I bring Stugat's favorite.
Of course. Oh my god.
The reason I bring this up, I think Taylor Huff has a real shot to be the greatest athlete ever to come from Mansfield, Ohio. So I dug through, and I've got 2 options here. 1993 first team All-Pro Terry McDaniel from the NFL, great outside pass rusher, or a player near and dear to my heart, 2000 first team All-Pro, another pass rusher. What are they doing out there in Mansfield? Just pumping up, All-Pro pass rushers. Eagles legend, defensive end Hugh Douglas. I think those are the only 2 players that have got any shot. Taylor Huff, 22 years old, her whole career in front of her. I'm putting a weird take chip on. Taylor Huff will soon be the greatest athlete ever to come from Mansfield, Ohio. Prove me wrong.
Okay, you know what? Probably a good bet. She's going to have to get past Hugh Douglas, obviously, climb past Hugh Douglas to get there. We might as well just do fun Hugh Douglas facts. I was watching rugby one time. Like years and years ago on like the Discovery Channel, it was like the Rugby Sevens tournament, and Hugh Douglas was there to like help explain to an American audience what was happening in rugby. And I was like, okay, Hugh Douglas, big rugby guy. Now I have to ask the question, was he a rugby guy in Mansfield? Who knows?
I mean, yeah, I'll have to go back and check the stats. That might change his candidacy.
2-sport athlete.
Yeah. We got to take all this into consideration. All right. Back to the match. Alyssa Thompson, I think on the Angel City side, this is a marvelous player, bro. Like, I think physically, I went through the list, and I'm trying to think, all right, of the players that I've seen firsthand in person, I mean, I feel like I'm not sure if I've seen physically a more gifted player than Alyssa Thompson. And I'll explain to you what I saw. Obviously, you see her flat out speed.
Sure.
We learned earlier this season about her track background. Her quickness is just filthy. Like she's just juking players. I mean, just off the frame. I mean, it's wild.
Yeah.
And then there was one moment in the 68th minute. I made a note to myself to go back and watch it. I'm not sure if it was Dahlkemper, but there was somebody on BFC's back line that just flat out gets in her way, and I'm like, I'm just gonna knock over Alyssa Thompson right here, and Thompson just bounces right off of her, and my jaw was just like, I don't understand how that can happen, because that's a very small player moving very quickly. Usually that kind of collision or just that kind of like physical contact ends not that way. And she was just like, no, I'm going to keep my feet. I'm going to bounce right off. And it barely knocked her off her line. I mean, it was, this is a real standout athlete here.
Yeah, I think that's a great call. And, it was going to take any teenager some time to get used to the physicality in this league. We've talked about it a few times with a few different players, but and we mention it with some of the more diminutive players. When some of those, someone who plays a little smaller might weigh a little less than some of their opponents out there, can really show you like, okay, yeah, I have a level of quickness and skill that I'm going to lean on, but I have enough strength, to your point, to bounce off you or to get through you. And we're talking about a real dangerous, especially in an attacking sense, a real dangerous attacker. And she showed that, man. I mean, there were multiple and one mixtape type moves that she was just pulling off pretty easily out there.
Yeah, and like just so instinctual. Like it's like,
yep.
Right, you step here, I'm gonna just bounce. I'm gonna make you. I'm just gonna embarrass you. It was really, I mean, just super impressive. I think on the BFC side, well, I want to get to some Penelope Hawkins now, because I asked her about the goal, her 23rd minute. Yeah, her 23rd minute goal. That was assisted by, I think, Taylor Huff. Yeah, I believe I got that right. So let's go to that sound here. Dino De Cespedes, Things Like Channel Podcast. Questions for Penelope. So on the goal, the ball kind of squirts through past Doria Bailey, and you had quite a run up onto it. Did time slow down a little bit, and kind of like, what does it feel like to kind of smack the ball that hard?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I've just been hitting that shot in training a lot.
Yes.
Let's go.
So when it came to me, I realized that I had a little bit of time and I didn't want to take a touch. It was perfect ball, and it was just perfectly lined up to hit on my right. I thought about hitting on my left, but I was like, no, I'm just gonna go with my right, because I've hit this a lot of times
over
in training. Yeah, so I mean, it's just one of those moments where it's like the work has paid off, and yeah, it just felt natural. So it felt really good.
Okay, well, that's cool. That's cool to hear, because I feel like sometimes watching some goals that look like that, I feel like people are like, oh yeah, the ball just kind of bounced in her path, and then she just instinctively crushed it. It's cool to hear two athletes, like, especially co-signing, like, yep, seen that a bunch of times. She can make that.
Absolutely, yeah. And that was Caroline Conti, who cashed in the PK, was sitting next to Penelope Hawking on that one. I mean, BFC, this was a really good game from them. I thought defensively, we mentioned Alyssa Thompson, Dahlkemper and Caprice Didasco held up really well against Thompson, just kind of like running up that left-hand side. They had a lot of work to do, and they just played really well. Emily Menges and Maddie Moreau on the back line as well. Haven't logged a ton of minutes. Either of those players, Moreau specifically, I thought played really well.
Yep.
Just to kind of like keep it together. And Angel City, kind of like a lot of motion, a lot of things happening, not really able to cash in. They didn't, I think they were only able to notch 4 shots on target. Nothing crazy dangerous. And then I think my last note, Rachel Kunanaji, I kept thinking about your MVP pick, because she is a tremendously valuable player to BFC. Like, in a lot of ways, she has an incredibly thankless job. Like, it's just get out there, put pressure, like max out your creativity and max out your effort every time you have any kind of chance, and try to distribute when you can. Try to be a facilitator. And it's like they're asking her to kind of do everything, and she's so good and she's so up for it. Like every run, every available, anything she was just kind of trying to grab and take advantage of. I mean, it definitely, I don't want to say it changed my perception of Kundanagi, but it just definitely showed me another 2 or 3 new dimensions of her game that I just hadn't noticed. And the goals are not, the goals are the goals, but I don't want to say Bay FC definitely need her goals, but Bay FC cashed in huge with her contribution, her runs, her gravity, her vision. I think without Kundanagi, this is a completely different ball game. And this in no way was a Kundanagi match. And that definitely was an eye opener for me.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think she's going to have to play an interesting role in that sense. Like, you're right. She's going to need to score and she's going to need to assist, I think, to really get the full, for the team to get the full value out of her. There was an interesting thing that was a moment that was caught on the broadcast where she very clearly wanted to take that penalty that Caroline Conti took. And then she kind of backed off. And I from what I know, like in my cruddy high school football team or whatever, like you decide like who your penalty takers are in practice and things like that. And it looked like Conti was saying something to the effect of, "Hey, I'm the one who's supposed to take it. I'm going to take it." And she buried it with a lot of confidence and then immediately like went over to Kundanagi to seemingly say like, "Hey, I got you. Like, I won't screw that up for you," or something to that effect. Obviously I couldn't read the lips or anything, but I liked Conti's confidence. And I'm glad you bring up the Kundanagi point because, Conti completes nearly 90% of her passes. She had those couple of shots, the one on target, she knocks home the penalty. Maybe that Kundanagi gravity is going to allow her to play with more confidence and some of her other teammates to play with confidence. So I'll be interested to see that, but I still, and me and how I view sports. I cannot get over, you take Kundanagi off the field, you bring Oshuala on the field. They swap right around the 70th minute. You should play them both at the same time, man. We got to figure out a way to play them both at the same time. I don't want to live in a world where we're getting 20 minutes of Oshuala. Like, we should be getting 70 minutes of both those players, but easy for me to say sitting in my office in Seattle.
I mean, yeah, that would be really nice if they were able to unlock those players because Oshuala comes into the match and takes that Kundanagi spot and is not Rachel Kundanagi, is not doing the same things. Gets chances, gets touches, and then has to do other stuff. It's just like, not the highest and best use of Oshuala's talents either. But to Oshuala's credit, I was, kind of hanging around the tunnel area, the press, it's kind of like all, in the same situation. Right. And I got to see Oshuala a few times, kind of warming up, super high spirits, super, I'm not sure if she knew she was getting in, but like, I think the vibes were good from Oshuala. She didn't look, mercurial or like upset or moody. She looked super high spirits, really pumped. Really excited about the day, even before the scoring. So you can kind of see her professionalism there. Really hope that she's able to put it together. All right, man. Big week of football. Did we miss anything? Anything else you want to hit before we get out of here?
I think we've done it, my good man. We talked about the football. We got a couple minutes on Hugh Douglas. What else can you ask for in a women's football podcast?
I'm not sure. I'm sure you can ask for a lot more. As we do every week, we left a lot of meat on the bone. All right, quick update on some commercials here. We launched. This might be news to you. I don't know if I talked to you about this. We launched Linktree Shops. Have you seen this?
I have.
Okay.
Just so the audience knows how locked in I am and who's really running the business here. Yes, I did see you executed this. Thank you for doing it.
Okay, so we're going to go in there. We're going to kind of keep everything updated, but it's already loaded up with some pretty cool gear, some Orlando Pride Championship gear for the Orlando Pride fans out there, some USWNT gear, some NWSL team gear. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff there, some good discounts in there to check out. And then obviously your boys earn, modest commissions on all of that. So if you're looking to get some gear, pop over to our store, see what's available, and check that out. Another bit of commercial news here. We launched memberships via YouTube. We've got one price tier. That's it. This is a simple show, simple enterprise here. and it's roughly the cost of a beer. We crack one, every episode here. The average cost of a beer in the United States at a bar is roughly around $4.75. We come in 24 cents above that, $4.99 a month. That unlocks loyalty badges visible in the comments and live chat, custom emojis that can be used in the live chat, including 4 different types: 1 ITC logo in original green, and 3 alternate colorways: 1 with the Orlando Pride colors, 1 with Barcelona Femení colors, and then the other champion of the 2024 season, the U.S. Women's National Team. We've got their colors in there as part of those ITC logos as well. And part of the membership also includes member shout-outs on every episode. We already do this, especially if you're commenting and leaving heat in that thread. And then obviously priority replies to comments is also included in the memberships as well. And while I'm on the topic, I want to call out some friends. So some discussions happening on Reddit. Who's got the best NWSL show? Who's doing the best coverage? Who's doing the precaps? Who's doing the previews? Who's doing the recaps? I'm not saying we're the best, but suffice it to say, according to Reddit, we're in the conversation. And I want to shout out some friends of the show. Any_necessary 1533, read between the subs, Psychological Air 8643, Nervous Boysenberry 9, and of course, the OG, Sharky's Kitten. Appreciate all the love on Reddit. Please keep it going. It feels really nice, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, that's super cool. Like I always say, we somehow found a corner of the internet that is not populated with terrible people. In fact, we found a corner of the internet that's populated with awesome people. So I think that makes the show worth doing in itself. But I just, again, behind the curtain, all these things that Dino have set up, I just have nothing to do with. I'm just walking in and Dino's like, look at all this cool stuff I did. I'm like, well, that's awesome. I watched the games and took some stupid notes. So I appreciate you doing that. And so for anybody who enjoys that stuff, make sure you show some love to our guy.
You know what? If it wasn't for you, our guy Mike Watts wouldn't have uttered the phrase "into the channel" on the matches, on the biggest match of the season. So this is a team effort, absolutely. We've got great fans, great members of our community, great bots. Also, I'm sure it can't be that so many nice people are engaging with our content. I want to lastly though, episode calendar. I'm not sure I even have to say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. Next Saturday, the Champions League final, Barcelona versus Arsenal. Barcelona. We'll have a preview for you. We'll have a recap for you with our guy, play-by-play announcer for DAZN, Chris Sharples, will be checking in after the final for the second straight year. Leanne Sanderson came on the show for the second straight year to preview the final. Go check out that episode with Leanne if you haven't heard that one already. NWSL Match Week 10 also going down next weekend. Not a ton of bangers on the schedule. There's only 6 matches, and none of the 6 feature 2 playoff teams playing each other. So perhaps you and I just put together a 10/26 or 5/13 or 38.461% of the way through the season NWSL check-in. We may give out some words, make some predictions, have some fun with it. Maybe more so than it's a Champions League weekend. I'm not sure we have to dive way, way, way deep on match day 10, but I don't know. It's an international break after that, so we'll have some time to maybe decompress and get our thoughts together in a more macro sense.
I think that makes sense. I figured we would do a couple shows this week. Obviously, one more Champions League preview, I think, sounds good with me and you. If we could probably talk about some recent results. But yeah, I'm down for whatever. I mean, I don't think what I'm doing right now is the spirit of episode calendar. Again, I'm just going to say, sleepy guy, we're going to get there. We're going to do some shows, and we're going to appreciate you guys when you check it out and drop some knowledge in the comments.
That we will. All right, man. This has been another episode of the channel. Thank you for hanging out. If you enjoyed the show or love women's football as much as your boys do, make sure you're kicking with us each and every single week, sometimes twice a week. Like if you like to subscribe, follow YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to watch or listen, leave us a review over your favorite podcast app. We want to hear from you. Love hearing from you. Links to all of our socials except one in the show notes of this episode. And a big thank you to my host as well, Mr. Grand Angle, sleeping, awake, dozing, half here, half there. Doesn't matter. I appreciate you, bro. You're the guy around here. I mean, I can't even communicate to you how many of your takes I'm not bullshitting you bounce through my head as I'm watching these players. I'm like, oh yeah, great. Grant was on that. Grant was on that. So sleepy or no sleepy, you bring it each and every week, each and every episode. I appreciate you, bro.
Likewise, my good man. I mean, that is doing the show has ended up where it's every time it's that Leonardo DiCaprio meme of him pointing at the television where I'm like, Dino said that. And then even then, like people who interact with the show are just like, oh yeah, they pointed out this. Like that's been one of the great joys of the show. Just talking ball with a bunch of people who know ball. So we appreciate you guys rocking with us, and we will see you all next time.